It's Momo Monday, but you will notice that there is no Momo. That's because I didn't have enough time this week to chase my cats around with a camera looking for adorableness. It was a busy week, and I am behind on awesome gameplay footage to show you guys. So this is Torment, Tides of Numenera, and oh my god, it's so good. And it kind of fits into the topic this week, the subject, because I ended up creating a character who can like kind of read surface thoughts and has all this like ability to see through things. I like having these characters that make dialogue things simpler because oh my god, that's so much not like life. And that's sort of the topic. I got a message from a patron asking me to talk about this, and I think this is great because in part it gives benefits to patronage, and I need that monthly support, so it's great to be able to do this. But also I like to do follow-up. Like I like when something I talk about, in this case the video last week on kindness, connects to someone. And so this is an extrapolation away. Now. But before we get there, it is Monday, so we need to center ourselves for the week. Let's take a breath, breathe in.
All right.
And out. And breathe in.
Go.
And out. And so this patron said, paraphrasing somewhat, they're a quiet person and they prefer to keep a low profile. They have been used as a social pincushion and they're concerned about some of the training they've gotten in terms of, you know, personal interaction. But they say sometimes they get a compliment or an act of kindness and they think it seems fake or superficial, and it's interesting that they've made the distinction. I'll get to why in a bit. And they say that even though the quote-unquote logical size of their brain says that these compliments are probably genuine, they want to know how to receive kindness without feeling like it's time to retreat into what I'm assuming is that sort of protective shell that people put around their emotions. And there's 4 elements to this. And the research I did, I like to check psychology sources to see if I'm on the right track, because I'm an agony aunt. I'm not a psychologist in this regard, you know, like a Dear Abby type thing. And I'm going from my own experiences, the School of Hard Knocks, and so I like to make sure I'm in sync with best practices. But this is one of these elements of conventional psychology that I think they have really not delved into enough. And because the standard answer for this is, well, the ability to accept compliments is linked to self-esteem, and people with healthy self-esteem, when it's too low, they have trouble responding positively to compliments. Thanks, platitude generator. Tell me something I don't know. This is a much more complicated issue than that speaks to. People with healthy self-esteem also have healthy personal boundaries. One is connected to the other.
Yes, now.
And so sometimes there are people who are superficial. And sometimes there are people who are outright fake. And you should always, always, always trust your gut. If you're getting some kind of gut reaction that something is not as it should be, it doesn't mean you react right away to that gut check, but never ignore it. I did that for years, at least a decade of my life, and I got taken advantage of by a lot of not nice people. And people can talk a good game, and people can be, oh, social justice, and people can be, oh, save the whales and save the children and think of the bees and the animals and
I need help.
you know, vegan and all that stuff, and they can still be horrible people because all of those moral causes are superficial or fake. And part of being human is those intangibles. We are not machines, and that's one of the big challenges with machine learning is we can program intellect, but that empathy is elusive in terms of machine learning. And so this you know, platitude of, oh, it's people with low self-esteem, compliments, all that stuff. It's not wrong, but it is so limited that I would say it is misleading. Because self-esteem is not a single thing. You can be incredibly confident in one thing and totally insecure about something else. And this idea that there is any person out there who is 100% confident in everything they're trying to do, that's just not true. That's just not humanity. And the platitudes we receive cause us to beat ourselves up for the things that we are sensitive to. People did that to me all the time. Oh, you're just too sensitive. But wisdom comes through exploring your own sensitivities. Why does this bother me? And if you're so busy trying to make something not bother you that you don't explore why it bothers you, you're never going to learn anything. You're just going to be caught in this loop of fighting yourself. And especially gamers, because a lot of gamers are introverted personalities. We're quiet by nature. We have that mix of sort of artistry and imagination, but then really, really sharply developed logical skills as well. And unfortunately, we live in a world that makes people choose. Oh, you're either feeling or you're judging. You're thinking or you're perceiving. And the reality is everybody does both to an extent. And if you don't use both, you leave yourself with deficits. The RPG comparison to this is sort of like, there's a reason that wizards are usually assholes, but priests are kindly, or they're really super evil. But wizards are just assholes because wizards have high intelligence scores. They don't necessarily have to have high wisdom scores to be good at magic. Whereas priests, you know, you've got that wisdom score that is the critical stat, but you know, charisma and all that stuff also come into play, and that's why the D&D system is, I believe, so brilliant when it comes to talking about people. Those characteristics are different things, and it's that wisdom that geeks have been taught is either worthless or we're not good at or something like that. And I'm telling you that I don't think it's you know, calculatedly the world has caused us to be afraid of that. But let me tell you, if you've already got the intellect and you can tap into that wisdom, that drawing on your own past experiences in a useful way, man, that's powerful. And that's why I say trust your gut. Now, you could be in a difficult situation, and so it makes it harder to accept compliments. And so, you know, that may be the solution there. Just say, like, look, I've been really going through a bad time. Can you elaborate on that? Like, you know, thank you. Can you unpack that for me a little bit? I have a friend of mine, he's older, and he's very good about that. This guy has been through the ringer, but he still manages to smile, and it keeps on going on. And I'll just say, you know, I'm proud of him about something, or tell him something, and it'll just say quantify. And that's not something people are taught to do, but it's, for intellectuals, that's important. I think part of the reason that these sorts of niceties elude intellectuals is because it is often difficult to quantify a compliment. You know, people get, I don't know, you know, they get put on the spot and then they start getting defensive and the whole thing goes to crap. But I know criticism or praise, I need to be able to connect it to something. And often praise kind of comes out of the blue. You're not prepared for it. And so it's hard to plug that into a spot, find a PCI port for it, you know, to plug it in so it can talk to your motherboard. And that is how computer geek brains work. And so I think it's probably a question not of how do I feel, how do you not retreat? By engaging. There's the answer to the patron's question, that you retreat because you probably haven't been given the tools to engage. You don't know how to accept compliments. I know that, at least me, because I was so high achieving, that the people went out of their way to find something wrong with me, so I didn't get a swelled head. You know, where's the other 2 marks? Kind of thing. Oh, don't think you're better than everybody else. And the stupid thing about that was I didn't ever think I was better than everybody else. I thought I was better than other people at this. But I was very aware there are other things I was less good at. No one is good at everything. And there's a reason for that. There aren't enough hours in a day. And human beings are inherently social. Even the people who are introverted, we're social in our own ways. The problem is that the extrovert's version of socialization gets overwhelming for introverts. And introverted personalities are not well understood in our society. Our society is definitely based on the comfort of extroverts. And so, you know, then the next thing somebody says, well, if I ask somebody to quantify, and if I ask somebody to elaborate so I can plug it in the correct place in my brain, well, doesn't that seem weird? To some people, yes, it will seem weird. To other people, it won't. And if you're wasting your time with people who are just going to dismiss you as weird, you're never going to find the people who value what makes you special. Weird is special put through a negative prism, okay? And the same way I was talking about privilege versus blessings next week, it's the same thing. Oh, here's somebody who's different. They're weird. Versus, oh, here's somebody who's different. They're special. This is neat. This is interesting. I want to learn more about them. And there are people out there who see eccentricities as a benefit to society. I'm one of them. I've done my reading, I've done my history, and you know, there's a correlation between the periods and in certain parts of the world where eccentricity was valued and progress, innovation. And when everything's pushed down and gets very authoritarian, innovation gets crippled. So I'm not saying there's causation there, but there's definite correlation. And so I know it's really easy to say, find new friends, because that's very difficult for introverts. And as somebody who had to do it, when people were saying, oh, find people who appreciate you, find new friends, go out and meet people. Like, the scream in my head, yeah! Like, how do you expect me? What? You make this sound simple. Like, what are you on? You know? If this was easy, wouldn't you think I would do this already? Never mind if it was easy. If I knew how, don't you think I'd be doing this already? I know that was my reaction when people said, well, just go out and meet new people. I'm like, how the fuck am I going to do that? Right? What I ended up doing is I started engaging in new activities that naturally bring you into contact with new people. And the trick is to find groups that are sort of, everybody's kind of in it together, everybody's bumbling through together. There's no, oh, it's the new person. It, you know, certain types of classes are good for that. The problem with classes is there tends not to be a ton of intermingling. Book clubs are great because those are people sharing things with other people. And book clubs are coming back, at least in my area. It's interesting. I'm finding more and more book clubs re-engaging. But going to actual events based on common interests is a nice way to start this process of finding people
What do you think of this?
Whose thought processes make sense to you. And so then when you get that compliment, it's relevant to your brain. That's the trick. And the fact that this patron said fake or superficial indicates to me that they know the difference and they're sorting the fake. Fake, just, if it seems fake, there's a reason. It probably is fake. You know, the person is probably fake, and the reason you assume that is because something in your brain is triggering this person is phony as anything. Limit your contact with them, put them in that box in your brain. If they're a coworker, just set your expectations accordingly. But superficial is an indication, like I said, that this compliment doesn't seem relevant. It's a bit of code that doesn't actually do anything. It doesn't make anything happen. Why do I care if, you know, someone says this particular thing? And, you know, sometimes it's tipping you off that you're undervaluing something about you. I have another friend who's brilliantly funny, but he's defined by being smart. And I keep telling him, write a comedy book, write a comedy book. He has this dry observational wit that just comes out in writing. And he's not ready to do it, but I just keep on it, you know? I know it. You know, that's an instance where I think maybe it's making him a little bit uncomfortable, but he's becoming less and less uncomfortable with it. And for people who do have introverts in your life, sometimes you have to repeat a compliment a few times because repetition makes something more relevant to the brain. And I know that certain compliments for me, like when someone says, you know, oh, you're hot. Well, I know that's subjective, right? I know that there's no way to actually quantify hot, right? Because then turn around and 5 minutes later, somebody else is calling me fat and ugly. Or a whore, or so one person's hot is another person's slutty, is another person's fat, is another. It's just, I contextualize those compliments as thank you. This person is trying to say something nice, but I really do have a hard time making that relevant. But someone says that was really funny, or I thought this thing you said was really on point. I really love that point you made. Well, that's a compliment that's relevant to me. It makes sense. And it's something I'm working towards. I am not especially invested in being hot in other people's minds. I am invested in saying things that mean something to other people. And so that has nothing to do with the speaker of the compliment and everything to do with what I find validating, right? Part of the reason I don't freak out about women who look different than me is it's not terribly relevant to me, right? That's fine. They can go be the hottest chick in the room. I don't need that. Other people get exceptionally competitive because that does mean a great deal to them. And they would be incredibly flattered by being told they were hot, right? And so sometimes it's just, well, the compliment seems superficial because this isn't a quality you necessarily not value in yourself, but care very much one way or the other. And the challenge there is kind of tell yourself, well, they're saying something nice and take that for what it's worth. It doesn't mean very much to me, but it means something to the speaker because they're complimenting you on that axis of awareness, for lack of a better term. And the nice thing about that is if you zoom in that way, then you learn something about that person because people tend to compliment based on what's important to them, right? So hopefully that's helpful. Other patrons, please shoot me your Momo Monday questions. And I hope you enjoyed the gameplay of Torment because, oh my God, I'm loving this game. But let's close off, breathe in.
You can do this.
And out.
All right, here I go.
And breathe in.